Good morning, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for spending your time on a Saturday morning to come and see us. Today's topic is downsizing your home with confidence and ease. My name is Kathryn Fantov, and I've been in the industry over 30 years, as Virginia mentioned. Okay, so just a little about me. I'm a vendor advocate. Many moons ago, I used to be a real estate agent myself. I started this company because I became very disillusioned with the way the property industry was heading. I saw too many agents who were focusing more on their own self-interests than looking after their clients' best interests. Even some agents who were actually making side deals with buyers. Now, thankfully, this doesn't happen as much anymore, but deals such as, if you get me this property for a cheap price, then you can have my home to sell. So these are the type of tactics that some of the agents used to use. So my highest core value is trust. I think it's something that's severely lacking in the industry, and that's why I started this business. Property is my passion, and I truly love what I do. I love using the knowledge that I've gained over the last 30 years to help people sell their home for more money with less stress. So, what is a vendor advocate? Well, it's somebody who understands the selling process inside out. They know what to look for when choosing a real estate agent. They don't fall for the promises of the highest price or the tactic of charging the lowest commission. We act as a buffer or a barrier in between the seller and the real estate agent to protect you from any agent pressure tactics, such as accepting a lower price when selling your home. We guide you throughout the entire process and keeping the agent honest and focused on achieving the highest possible price. Best part about this service is that it's actually free, and I'll explain a little bit more about how that works later on in the presentation. So before we get started, I just wanted to have a little bit of a recap of where we've been and where we are today. So 2022 was the year we had a major adjustment in property prices thanks to 8 successive interest rate rises, unexpected. Media headlines were spruiking doom and gloom, and rises in the interest rate rises caused a major impact on the borrowing capacity of the average buyer. So this caused a decline in auction clearance rates as buyers simply couldn't afford what they wanted, could not afford any longer what they wanted to borrow. Prices were dropping almost as quickly as they had increased during the pandemic. This came as a shock to many sellers as they still had their hopes of selling their homes for, the big prices that were being achieved a year or so ago. Winter saw a major adjustment. Sellers were forced to accept the harsh reality of what their homes were actually worth, and many sellers chose not to sell at all. So this created a shortage of supply, and this shortage of supply continued into spring. And it was this supply shortage in spring that kept the prices reasonably buoyant and did keep the market afloat. However, towards December, the activity really did slow significantly. And that's typically at that time of year with Christmas, holidays, that type of thing. So what's in store for this year? Well, the start to the year has actually been a lot more positive than anyone expected. Real estate agents are telling us that they're getting on average between 20 to 50 people through open homes at the moment. There's a lot of new buyers that have come into the market, and the high attendance rate has really given a positive start to the year. There is simply not enough stock for buyers to choose from. So at the moment, the market is very strong. And if we compare it to November and December, we were seeing maybe 1 or 2 buyers per property. We're now seeing about 3 or 4 genuine buyers per property. So why is this? Well, there's a number of factors. First, there's a lot of buyers who are concerned about the interest rate rises. They have pre-approvals in place. A pre-approval typically lasts from 3 to 6 months, depending on which bank you go with. And once that pre-approval period expires, then they need to reapply. Now, when they reapply, if there has been an interest rate rise, they will not be able to borrow as much as they would have previously. So there's been a lot of urgency among buyers to get in and try and buy something quickly, and that's what we've been seeing to the start to the year. There's also been the stamp duty reform, and this is mainly focusing on the first home buyers. So the ability to buy a property without paying stamp duty, I think, is a fantastic incentive and opportunity for young people to get into the market, and it is driving the lower end of the market, so they're up to the $1 million mark. And we're told to expect that there's a few more rate rises happening this year, which will presumably be followed by a pause in the interest rates. During that pause period, that's when the market will stabilise. So we're predicting that could happen towards the second half of this year. Once rates start to come back down, that's when property prices will begin to go upwards again. So this could be a couple of years between now and when the prices start to increase. So when thinking about timing, it really does come down to the individual circumstances. So it's important to consider your reasons. What are your reasons for selling? Is your home too large? Is it becoming too difficult to maintain? Have the kids all moved out and you're living there alone? Would you prefer a low-maintenance villa or a nice new apartment? And obviously there's the retirement village option. There are many benefits to downsizing financially. So it allows you to unlock the capital that's been locked up in your home for many, many years. I mean, your family home is your largest investment. And lifestyle is becoming a big factor for a lot of our clients. A lot of our clients are wanting to downsize because they're wanting to do all the things that they haven't had a chance to do, whether it's travelling overseas, ticking things off their bucket list, moving closer to their children or their grandchildren. Everyone has their own vision of how they want this stage of their life to look. And it really does come down to your individual circumstances as to when you sell. Timing the market perfectly can be very difficult. It's even difficult for the experts. So it's not something that we recommend that you try. What is my home worth? It's hard not to be a little biased about the value of your own home. Every vendor that I deal with obviously thinks that their home is better than everything else that's on the market. But it's important to be realistic and do your own research. So the first step, there's a number of ways to do this. The first step would be to go online on realestate.com, domain.com, look up some sold properties in your suburb. Have a look at properties that are similar to yours, property type, number of bedrooms, parking. You need to compare apples with apples to get a good idea of the value of your home. This will give you a list of properties, and if you're really savvy, start making your own list. This is what I do when I'm looking to work out the value of a property that I'm dealing with that might be in an area that I don't necessarily work in. This process works no matter where your property is located. So you start making a list, and then you look at, okay, well, what competition is currently on the market? Pretend as though you're going to be buying a property, your property. So put in the number of bedrooms, the suburb, all those other characteristics, and see what comes up. If there are too many properties that are similar to yours, then it's probably not a good time to be selling. But if there are very few, then obviously it means that you'll get the demand. Start making another list, make some inquiries with the agents, find out what they're quoting, what the price guide is, and then make a note of what the property actually sells for. So if the property is selling for less than what the agent is quoting, you know that the market is not very strong. That has been happening a bit in some areas in this local area, And that's primarily because vendors are still thinking that their home is worth a lot more, and the agents aren't actually telling them, they're not being realistic and honest and telling them up front that, no, I don't think we can achieve this. So what happens is the property will sit on the market for an extended period of time, and the longer it sits on the market, the more it devalues. Okay, so now getting into the fun stuff. Getting started, decluttering. So knowing where to start can often be the most difficult and overwhelming part of the process for most people. You've lived in the property for a very long time. Everybody acquires a lot of stuff during their life. It's a matter of, okay, where do I start? So the first thing in the decluttering process is to start small. Start in a room, in a cupboard, even a shelf. As long as you start, I think once you get started, you get the motivation to keep moving forward. So get some boxes together, book a council cleanup. Booking a council cleanup actually gives you a bit more of a date to work towards. Otherwise, it could be something that drags on for months and months. You can always change it if you're not ready, but having the cleanup keeps you on track. Get some boxes from local storage places. You can buy used ones from Facebook Marketplace, and then start labelling them. Keep, donate, sell, trash. Also with furniture. Some furniture, the large, bulkier leather lounges that are very, very comfortable, that a lot of people have in their homes, are not ideal for when you're trying to present your property for sale. And the reason for that is they do take up a lot of space. Although they're very comfortable, when you're presenting a property for sale, property styling is a good example. It's not always practical. It looks great, but yeah, the main purpose of it is for it to photograph well and for it to fit well within the space, not to be too overpowering. Then there's donating and selling. So there's a lot of places that will take donations of items that are in good condition. So there's the Salvation Army, St Vinny's, Smith Family. You just really need to get in touch with them, see what they're prepared to accept. Some of them are very fussy. They like things that are only a few years old and have to be in very, very good condition. Others not so much. There's a company called Bauer Reuse and Repair. They're a not-for-profit, and they reuse and repair items that they can give to the most vulnerable people within the society, which I think is fantastic. Then there's another initiative which they've just partnered with the Sutherland Shire Council, and that's called Recycle Smart. I don't know if you've heard of it, but they offer to come and pick up regularly certain items from residents. So it can be a regular weekly or fortnightly pickup. It's not a lot of stuff that you can that they will pick up, but if you keep doing it on a regular basis, it's a good way to get rid of things gradually. Anything of value then can also be listed on Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree, or even given away for free. If it's too big for you to get rid of, there's always going to be someone who'll come and take it for free. This is just a before and after of the difference it makes to declutter your kitchen. So I'd just like to show, there will be some before and after photos throughout the presentation, and these are always fun to look at. Okay, so while sorting through what to keep and what not to keep, it's a good idea to do a thorough walk around the property and make a note of all the things that need to be fixed. These could be things that have been a problem for quite a while. I often find that people say, oh, if only I'd fixed that after I first moved in 10 years ago. So don't feel bad, just get the list done, or get somebody who has an objective eye and get them to do the walkthrough, or even a handyman to come in. Organise some quotes and work out which items that you should attend to. would painting or carpeting add any value? And the answer to that is, well, it really does depend on the property, the condition of the property itself. Painting and carpeting are probably two of the best items that you can do that will increase the property value the most. So you will get the best value from painting and carpeting. And the other thing is property styling. Property styling, you probably all heard about, it makes the properties present beautifully. It could be a partial style. I do quite a bit of that, where we try to blend in the owner's current furniture with some accessories, some nice artwork, cushions, throws, all those nice textures that really do make a difference to the presentation. So a partial style could start from $2,000 to $2,500 up to a 3-bedroom home that's with completely empty. You move out everything, and I have clients that have done that and lived in the home while the property is fully styled. You're looking at about $6,000. And what they do is they say to me, well, there's no point in me keeping anything because the new place that I move to, I'm going to buy all new furniture. It's going to be a brand new house, brand new apartment, or whatever it might be. I want brand new furniture and totally new look. So that often works well, but obviously it doesn't suit everybody. This is another before and after. This particular property, you might notice in the before photo the colour of the walls. We had it changed. We changed all the walls to a nice crisp white. White is always very modern and contemporary. It goes with everything, and it just really does freshen up and modernise a place. And then we styled with new furniture. So this particular family had a couple of little small children. This one, we recommended painting the outside of the property. It made quite a large difference in just the overall appeal of the property from the curb, from the street. This is another one. Okay, so moving on to choosing the best agent. So choosing the right agent to sell your home is a critical part of the process. You might have family and friends that have somebody that they recommend, that they've used before, which is great. But you really should interview at least 3 real estate agents. Most people don't spend enough time at this part of the process researching. Go onto realestateanddomain.com, look at who's been selling the most properties in your area. Have a look at the prices that they've been achieving. Have they been achieving higher than average prices, or are they more of a high turnover agent? So you have to be careful of these agents that say that they sell the most in the area, which is great, but look at the prices that they're achieving. Are they pushing to get the highest price, or are they just wanting to make a sale? So this is the difference. I always like to look at the agent reviews and have a look at how many buyers versus seller reviews are left. So what I find is that the agents who do the best job for the sellers have 100% seller reviews. And that's typically because the buyer often gets annoyed because they've paid too much. So if you find that an agent has a lot of buyer reviews versus seller reviews, then you wouldn't be looking, don't choose them to sell your home. That's a little trick that I use that not a lot of people know about, but it really does make a lot of sense.
Can I just ask where you see the reviews?
So you can find the reviews, there's Rate My Agent, and there's also on realestate.com, there's a section, basically those 2 areas. There's a lot of other agent review websites, but you just got to be a bit careful. They're also the ones that offer a free market appraisal. You go online, you put in your details, and then they say, after you've given your email address, they say, oh, we'll get a local agent to get in touch with you. So you don't actually get a property report at the end of it. You get your number and email address sent out to all the agents in that area, and then you're just getting bombarded with agents calling you. If you sign up with one of those agents, then that website that you filled in your details, they will invoice that agent for 20% of their commission, just for providing an email address. So just be careful of those websites. This is another one that comes up quite a lot about selling off market. Has everyone heard of selling off market? Yes. Yeah. So a lot of agents will try and promote this because it's an easy way for an agent to get their foot in the door. And what I mean by that is they tell you it's not going to cost you anything. We'll go to our database, we'll bring buyers through, and we could potentially get you a great price. But all it's doing is basically getting you to sign up with them, and then hopefully for a certain period of time, and then hopefully they can convert you to a full auction campaign or a full sales campaign where you've got to pay marketing, everything else. So just be a bit wary of that off-market tactic. I never recommend to my clients to sell off-market. And the reason for that is because I believe that to sell a property for the best possible price, you need to cast your net as wide as possible as far as promoting the property. Selling off market is a bit like selling a secret. You've got no signboard. You might have some photos, database, but that's probably about it. And so there's limited buyers that will know about your property. And if your property is unique, then it's highly unlikely that the agent has your buyer in their database. So that's why you should go on all the major portals. If you're going to sell your property, you do it once and you do it right. And that's to expose it to the maximum number of buyers possible. That creates more people through your door and more competition among buyers, which helps to push up the price. It's hard to, unless the agent has creative tactics of negotiation, it's hard to get a buyer to bid against themselves if they don't think anybody else is making another offer against them. Does that make sense? Okay, so there's a few important things to know about selling. We often get asked is, okay, well, how long will it take? So the preparation part of the process can take, depending on what needs to be done at your property, can take anywhere from 2 weeks up to 2 months. It's not uncommon for us to spend up to 3 months with a client getting their property ready. We understand that it's a difficult time, especially if they've lived in the home for a very long time. We're not here to push them, but we're here to help them and guide them and just try to keep them on track. The sale process itself only takes about 5 weeks from the day of the photo shoot. The auction, typically an auction campaign is what we would be looking at recommending. Takes about 4 weeks. And then a settlement period, you can have average, or the standard is 6 weeks, anywhere up to 12 weeks. So I've just put together a bit of a guide here of how much you'll be looking to spend up front when selling your home. Legal fees, depending on who you go with, can be anywhere from $1,900 to $2,200. If you have a pool, that needs to be inspected and have a compliance certificate issued, or non-compliance if it's non-compliant. If it's non-compliant, you might need to look at making it compliant, but if it's too hard, don't worry about it. Just let the buyer deal with it. Pest and building or a strata report, that's something that we always recommend to do up front. And the reason we do that is it makes it a lot easier for buyers to buy when they've already got these reports. They only have to pay $50. Back in the old days, you used to have to do your own pest and building for every single property, and that was $500 each. So if you kept missing out and you had 6 houses to look at, that's a lot of money. So we do that up front. The vendor pays a small portion, and then the buyers also pay a small portion. Then there's the marketing costs that's payable to the agent. That's for the internet, brochures, signboard, photos, video, all the usual things. And so the total is about 8.7 to 11, just over 11. Then you've got the agent's selling commission, and that can range anywhere from 165 to 185. And as I put here, based on a property of 1.5, can be up to 27,000. These days, auction is typically the best way, I believe, to sell your home, regardless of the market. Auction is set with a time frame of 4 weeks, usually without an advertised price to start with. So the reason for that is you want to remove any possible obstacles or barriers for buyers to come to the home by putting a price. If you put a price and they see it online and they think, oh, that's too expensive, I'm not even going to come and look, then you miss out. Then perhaps your guide was too high, then you end up dropping it a week later. It's just giving a very bad message to the market. That's why having an auction, having no price advertised, allows you to capture as much interest and buyers through your door as possible. After 4 weeks, you will know you'll have a result, but it also puts pressure on the buyers to make a decision. You can always sell prior. The good thing about auction is you can sell before auction, at auction, or after auction. Selling on the day of auction isn't the be-all and end-all, but it's just a part of the process. It is a 3-stage process. With a private treaty, you have a price typically advertised, as I said, normally a guide with a lower and an upper figure. Buyers at the moment don't want to pay close to the top or even above the top figure. Last year and the year before, we were getting way above the top of the guide because the market was just crazy. But these days, buyers have a fear of paying too much. They no longer have a fear of missing out. With private treaty, there's a cooling off period as well, which gives them between 5 and 10 days within which they can change their mind. So they can exchange contracts, pay a 0.25% deposit, and then decide they found another property, and this was happening in the pandemic. Actually, I found another property I like better. I only lose 0.25% of the purchase price, which isn't a lot in the scheme of things. They leave that one and go buy the other one. With an auction, there is no cooling off period, so you know once the deal's done, that's it, nobody can pull out. In regards to auctioneer, the only difference between an auction and private treaty as far as cost is the cost of the auctioneer. That can range from $600 to $900 depending on who you use. And yes, auction can be stressful, but it does give you the best opportunity to achieve the highest possible price. And when it comes to setting the reserve price, the agent will typically want you to set it at the lowest level that you'll accept. This is not the way I prefer to recommend to my clients. My clients will always, we set our reserve price higher, so we can always come down during the auction to meet the market if we need to. And then that way we know that we've done everything possible to achieve the highest possible price. And just a few tips for finding your next home. I guess, obviously I don't know everybody's individual circumstances or where they're planning to move to, but amenities are a big one for a lot of people. Transport, hospitals, shops, children. How do you know how much you can afford to spend? Well, I always recommend selling first before you buy, not the other way around. And that's because once you sell, you know at least exactly how much money you can afford to spend. And there's no pressure put on you. If you buy first and then you have to sell later, you might just have to sell whatever you can get because you need to fit in with a settlement time frame. And there's a lot of pressure on you. If you've been looking around, you probably know how to use realestateanddomain.com property alerts. You set it up so that each time a new property is listed, it gets sent to your inbox of the type of property that you're looking for. have a look around at a few properties, get an idea of where you want to live and the type of property you want to live in, so that once your property sells, then you're ready to actually take action. You can actually start to make offers. Never tell the agent your true budget. I don't think any buyer ever tells the agent their true budget, or that you've already sold and that you need to buy. And if all else fails, you can use a buyer's agent. Buyer's agents are expert in their field. They can save you a lot of time, do all the searching for you, and help you get the best price. Downsizing, as you can see with downsizing, there is a lot to consider, and you want to do it once and get it right the first time. So you can either do it all on your own and take your chances, or you can get help from someone who's an industry expert and has your interests at heart, like myself. It doesn't cost you any extra for our help, and the way we do it, I'll just explain briefly. It's a 3-step process. Okay, so step 1 is the planning preparation. So that's where we come in and we give you ideas of what could be done to the property to help you maximise the sale price. If there's any repairs and upgrades that need doing, we have our team of tradespeople that can come in and give you quotes. And we work out whether or not property styling is something that we could consider. If you have no budget for any of that, then we look at, okay, well, how can we do the preparation in a more cost-effective way? Can we maybe move some of the furniture out, just store it into your garage? That's always a good option. There's nothing wrong with having things stored in your garage during an open home, as long as people can see at least half of the garage. That way you don't have to pay for storage. Pest and building reports, we organise all of that. Also with the pest and building report, it allows us to look at any issues that might come up structurally with the building, or if you may have any termites or anything like that that needs to be fixed before we go to market. The last thing you want is for a buyer to do their own pest and building, find we've got problems, and then they basically want to reduce their price. So all of these things are addressed up front, and we will also give you a unbiased estimate of the value of the property. Now, when I say unbiased, I think you know what I mean by that. We're not here to try and win your business by telling you an overinflated expectation. We're here to be honest and tell you exactly what you can achieve. This is another before and after. This was another lady who she purchased a unit that was still under construction, and all the children had moved out of home, and she was happy to get rid of everything. She kept, I think, her bed, fridge, and the TV. And the rest of it we styled. We styled the whole entire property, and it made such a huge difference, and it got a fantastic price. The next step is choosing the agent. So this is where we will interview 3 of the best agents in the local area where your property is located. And we do this one-on-one with the agent. And then we provide a written report on each agent and give our recommendation of which agent would be best to go with. We negotiate the selling fee for you, and we review the marketing costs to make sure you're not spending money on things you don't need or things that are primarily there to promote the agent, not the property. And also to advise you on the best marketing strategy. The next stage is the sale process. So this is where we work directly with the agent. The agent reports to us. So we're like a buffer or a barrier between you and the real estate agent. We tell the agents we only want all the facts, 100% facts, no fluff. So we just want you to be honest. So the information that I can give to my clients helps them make the most informed decisions. We assist with the negotiation phase. We make sure that all the offers are genuine. We help you when pushing for a higher offer or when we think we should potentially look at selling the property. whether you should go through to auction or sell beforehand. We're basically by your side all the way through the entire process. Okay, so the best part, how do we get paid? So it's no additional cost, and this is because we share a portion of the fee that the agent is paid. So you still pay the same rate you would pay to the agent without having us involved. Often a lesser fee, because agents will tend to negotiate a better rate with us because they see us as a source of ongoing referral work for them. So if they do a good job on your property this time, next time round, they'll be considered to be one of the 3 agents that we interview for the next property. So agents are very keen to forge a relationship because they potentially could have 3 properties a year from us if they're doing a good job. The average vendor only sells their home once every 10, 20, 30 years. So it's definitely an ongoing partnership that a lot of agents are very happy to be part of. By the time the agent gets the listing, the property is looking its best, it's completely ready to go. It makes their job a lot easier having us involved because they don't have to worry about dealing with an emotional vendor, which can sometimes take up a bit of time for agents. Basically they're there just to look after the marketing, they deal with the buyers, they do the open homes, and that leaves them free to do what they do best, is dealing with buyers and focusing on the marketing. So the question I often get, which has probably been going through your head, is does the client pay a higher rate? Do you pay a higher rate to cover their fee, to cover our fee? And the answer to that is no. As I said, we often find that we are able to negotiate a much better rate because of the potential of future work. So this is just an example of some of the commissions that agents have come in to start with, and then versus the final commission that we negotiate. Now, just a quick case study. This is Jan. Jan first contacted me in November last year when she was thinking of selling so she could move to Perth. She wanted to be closer to her children. She lived alone in a 4-bedroom house. She had 2 dogs. She was still working but was planning to retire very soon and it was time for her to make the move. So this was a sale that occurred only last week. So what we did was we went through the property, we gave her an idea of what needed to be done, and best case scenario for us was painting, to repaint the entire place because the walls were multicoloured and she wasn't very keen on the idea to start with. But she took after a couple of weeks, she got back to me and she said, I've been talking to my children, I've been looking at the walls, and actually I think you're right. So we had the entire place painted white. White is always the best colour to paint. And she removed her large, bulky leather lounges and the outdated furniture, and we ended up getting an amazing price. So this is what it looked like before. As you can see on the left, they're the 2 dog beds, quite large dogs she had. And then with the new furniture, just makes a huge difference, just opens up the space, makes it more fresh. And buyers can visualise themselves living there. This was the back family room. We kept her lounge, but everything else she either sold on Marketplace, gave it away for free on Marketplace, or organised a council clean-up. When we did the agent interviews, the agent estimates came in between 175 to 125, and we had quite a lot of interest, 43 buyer inspections, which is a lot. 10 contracts were issued in the first week. So this is just going back to that activity, increase in activity for the start of this year. The first offer was 119 in the first week, and then week 2 we had another offer, and then week 3 we sold for 126. So it was actually above even the agent's estimates, which is fantastic for this market. And that was truly a testament to Jan and her willingness to follow everything that we suggested that she did to do to the property. Jan is just one of the many people that I've helped with downsizing their home. And although everyone's individual circumstances are different as to why they're selling, they all have one thing in common, and that's a feeling of overwhelm at the task ahead. Once they have a plan with set dates for when everything needs to be done by, they felt more confident and in control to move forward. So if you can relate to Jan, or you're feeling overwhelmed about downsizing, I'd love the opportunity to chat with you. Happy to chat with you after this presentation. We also have a stand outside in the expo, and feel free to come and say hi.